We will call the Development Review Board meeting to order. We do have one member of the board attending remotely by telephone. So I will ask for a roll call.
Vice Mayor Dubascus,
Here.
Vice Chair Brand,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Present.
Board Member Pieser,
Here.
Board Member Faki,
Yes.
Board Member Mason,
Yes.
Board Member Robinson,
Here.
all present. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment for non-agendized items. Citizens may address the members of the Development Review Board during public comment. Public comment time is reserved at the beginning of the meeting for citizens to comment on non-agendized items that are within the Development Review Board's jurisdiction. It's limited to a total of 15 minutes. Arizona state law prohibits the Development Review Board from discussing or taking any action on these non-agendized items. Speakers may submit a blue request to speak card in person prior to the beginning of the meeting. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. And we have one speaker, Mr. Steve Sutton.
Vice Mayor Dubascus and members of the board, it's a pleasure to be here before you. I've never spoken to the board before. I'm here to give you some information. There are groups of residents organized to stop the building of a garage extension at the Brown Avenue parking corral. The City Council directed the city manager to investigate one group's petition. I am not a member of that group of residents. I've been doing quite a bit of reading of City of Scottsdale documents and watching videos and reading transcripts of City Council meetings and work sessions concerning parking space availability in Old Town. I've also been talking to prominent people who have been involved for years in Scottsdale politics, development, and business that are on both sides of this issue of building a garage extension at the Brown Avenue parking corral. My research has convinced me that the public is going to overwhelmingly oppose building this garage unless city government can prove to the public's satisfaction that the creation of more parking spaces by the building of this garage extension is essential and the only viable option. The new petition I created asks the City Council to make a greater effort at due diligence on the issue of building at the Brown Avenue parking corral. The type of objective investigation I'm proposing will make it much easier for residents to accept whatever action the investigation supports and will mitigate the increasing strife in our community this issue is provoking. As with my previous 2 dog park petitions, I've already discovered it will not be a problem convincing residents to support this petition. The number of signatures collected will only be limited by the time and number of collectors available to collect them. I am grateful that the current City Council supported my efforts to improve safety at Chaparral Dog Park, and I regret that I am now in disagreement with 6 council members on proceeding with this plan on the parking corral. The petition reads, "We, the undersigned residents and business owners, do not want the historic and cultural aesthetics of the old Adobe Mission and surrounding area to be degraded by the construction of a multi-story garage in front of the Mission. The Mission is a unique and culturally significant pre-World War II building that the United States Department of Interior has placed on the National Register of Historic Places. We must protect the aesthetics of Scottsdale's historic Old Town. We, the undersigned residents and business owners, petition the City Council to direct the city manager to investigate whether adding a multi-story garage at the Brown Avenue parking corral is needed and whether alternative actions are sufficient for current and future parking needs, and to not approve a construction contract at this location until this investigation is completed and presented to the residents of Scottsdale to have not less than 30 days to consider its findings. We petition the City Council to direct the city manager to use all appropriate investigative methods, including the methods listed below. A new independent 2025 parking and traffic study of the southeast and southwest quadrants of Old Town that also includes ride-sharing service impact. New research into better signs directing drivers to parking areas, electronic monitoring of parking to provide street-side real-time information to drivers.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next we'll move to the administrative report.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Vice Mayor Dubascus, members of the board. Just real quickly, we will be having a meeting next week on the 12th. It's kind of unusual. We don't have that typical 2-week break due to holidays on the following week, so that meeting has been moved up to the 12th. So hopefully we'll see all you there, or if you can't make it in person, we'll work to get you a call in if necessary for that. But other than that, I think that concludes my administrative report for today. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the minutes for May 15, 2025, DRB regular meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Yeah, motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 15, 2025, Development Review Board meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
Vice Mayor Dubaskus,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brand,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
I was not present at that meeting, nor did I get a review on that, so I choose not to really vote on that.
okay. Board Member Pieser,
Yes?
Board Member Fakih,
Yes.
Board Member Mason,
Yes.
Board Member Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, moving to the consent agenda, items number 3 through 6. Does anybody have any comments to make on these items?
Yeah. I would like to pull items 4, 5, and 6 for questions to the applicants, to remove them from the consent agenda.
Anyone else? Okay.
I have,
Go ahead.
Councilwoman, I have a conflict on item number 3 that staff is aware of as well.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I do have a conflict on item number 3 that I
So-
will recuse myself on.
So you're recusing yourself. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move forward with the consent agenda with putting items 4, 5, and 6 on the regular agenda. Mr. Carr?
That is correct, Vice Mayor. What we'll do is vote on the remaining item on the consent agenda, item number 3, separately. We'll take that vote first. Mr. Fakih will recuse himself during that time.
Okay. Ready?
Vice Mayor Dubaskus,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brand,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Excuse me real quick, sorry. I forgot to, we need a motion on that before we can vote, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 3 on consent agenda 1-PP-2024.
Second?
Vice Mayor Dubaskus,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brand,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Board Member Pieser,
Yes.
Board Member Mason,
Yes.
Board Member Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, and we'll move to the regular agenda, and we'll start with item number 4. Do we have a presentation?
Vice Mayor, I'd ask if the board members would like a presentation from staff or the applicant, or would just like to ask questions of the applicant.
I don't know if anyone else has questions on this case or not, but my questions were specifically probably for the applicant to answer regarding building material selection. And if the applicant has a presentation to pull up, that would probably be sufficient.
Okay, we'll have the applicant come up and we'll pull up a portion of the presentation there to view on the screen.
So Vice Mayor Dubaskus and Vice Chair Brandt, I will then forward. Would the elevation serve you better? We have the materials board on here as well, or the perspectives also, I think, have a little more information.
Probably just going through those slides, which is material board, elevations, and perspectives.
Very good. So again, Jesus with the City of Scottsdale, present in front of you 11 DR 2024. And so these that you see on the screen, I believe the material boards are on their way, physically on their way. And so these were the material boards that were presented by the applicant. What staff did as part of our review, there was a couple hangars that were approved here in 2022 and 2023. So those were kind of used as a barometer to suggest to the applicant what colors and materials were sufficient for the area. And this is the boards that they provided. As you can see here, this is the first perspective. This is showing the northeast corner and the northwest corner and the northwest facade and the southwest facade. The entrance is right off of North Airport Drive, and then I can go to the next two. These are the next two perspectives, which show the southeast and the southwest elevations as well. And so these are the perspectives. So again, I can go back up to the elevations if you'd like, or I don't know if these help better.
My main questions were if it wasn't clear on examining the elevations about which specifically areas have the stone tile. There's a stone tile that's being used on the building, it appears, if you go back to the...
So I will move it
Bring the
over to the
arc- okay.
applicant. You have to come to the mic there. Yeah, otherwise they can't hear you online.
Okay, so there's no stone tile on the wall surfaces. So possibly the stone tile that you're looking at is the pavers, and there's a deck paver on that second floor deck that you see. And I don't know if we can go back to the boards, but the wall materials are a metal panel with, it's a slightly metallic mica finish, and then there's also stucco. And I wish I could point there. But oh, gotcha. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, so the bulk of the building is this metal panel material. It's a pewter color, and I can tell you the drawings up here are very washed out as compared to what the reality of what the colors are. So it's going to be a bit darker than what you saw in those 3D renderings just now. So yeah, the bulk of the building is a metal panel system here. The stucco is painted this color, and that was that western or southwestern side that you saw in the rendering. And then the remainder of the materials are soffit panels, which are this metallic color. This stone, this is a natural granite, and only the building base has that color, so it's about the first 32 inches of the building, and it's applied to a concrete wall at the base. Then the tiles, these two are those pavers and deck tiles. The ground pavers are this material, has a bit more texture to it, and then the deck pavers are a concrete look.
So there is a granite base, is what you're saying?
Yes.
So that the black granite is a base condition across most of the building?
Yeah, it's across the terminal portion of the building for the first 32 inches, and then the metal panels start. And that's it looks black here, but it's actually a gray, dark gray.
Is this a tilt or is this a framed with clad panels on it?
Yeah, it's framed, steel framed.
Okay. Are these pre-insulated metal panels that you guys are using, or is this a conventionally framed and insulated building?
So the hangar is a pre-insulated metal panel. It's a sandwich of two metal panels with foam on the interior, and it's a fire-rated foam, so that covers our fire rating for the hangar. So yeah, those are the insulated metal panels, but the terminal and the office portion is like an Alucobond MCM panel that's on steel framing.
Okay, so it's a separate system. So it's a similar material as an ACM material on both, but one is a pre-insulated panel,
Correct.
the other one's an ACM composite panel. Okay.
Yes.
Is there, I think just in looking at the elevations, I think the kind of the amount of gray and the multi-tones of what seemed like really similar tones of gray was, I think that the quality of the materials is high quality, and I actually think the building's attractive. I was a little bit also concerned about the amount of glazing on the west face of the building, and I was going to ask, again, off the material topic, if you were doing anything from a climate control standpoint to mitigate western sun impact on that main facade, which is kind of facing west-northwest, it feels like, at the entry.
Yeah, so that was one of the comments in the DR review. So we did kind of a solar analysis of the project as a whole, and as you know, the city of Scottsdale, or the Scottsdale Airport is rotated 45 degrees from orthogonal north-south. So just by virtue of the orientation, it's actually ideally located. And then the sloping glass of the walls also helps to shade it. So what we found is only that western or northwestern, southwestern side is really the only one that's exposed on the second floor. Our deck kind of covers over anything else, and then the sloping walls mitigates any problems from the solar angles in the summer, which are steeper than in the winter. So yeah, we planned for solar shades, which are manufactured by the window frame manufacturer, so they are coordinating in color and style, and they kind of have a shape like any lips.
Oh, so there's airfoil, like an airfoil shape,
Yes.
horizontal shading fin. Is that on the west facade?
Yes, the southwest.
Southwest?
Yep. Because the northwest, it never, as the sun comes around, it's rotated 45 degrees, so it actually never really.
So the sun is low enough on the horizon that it doesn't impact the facade?
Exactly.
Is this building done through a comp check, or is it done through an energy model that you were?
No, not yet.
Oh, that'll be part of your submittal?
Yes,
moving
that'll
forward.
be with our permit submittal.
Again, can you, just going back to the materials, I think what was, just from a color tone and maybe the materials, that's why I wanted to maybe see the materials or talk to you about them, but the gray seemed really, really similar, and so the singular kind of gray tone of the building was what stood out from maybe a little bit of a rendering and elevation aspect, and it just felt like 4 tones of gray on
Right.
top of each other. Is there, from your opinion, the aesthetic that you were shooting for, is there enough? We don't have the actual material samples now, but I think that was for me, that was what caused me to want to talk with you a little bit about the project.
Right. So the materials and the colors came from our client, FlexJet, and it's the same colors as their newly built headquarters building in Ohio. So I wish we could pull it up because you could see exactly what it looks like. And what you'll notice is the 2 panel colors are, one is cooler and one is warmer, and one is on the soffits and the other is on the wall panel. So you also have the difference in the orientation. The soffit panels are the bluer version here, weathered zinc, and then the wall panels are the pewter here, which honestly looks different in every light. Sometimes on a building, if it's in shadow, it looks dark, and then if the sun's reflecting on it, it can look quite bright. And then their accent colors were in gold. They have a gold panel on their headquarters building that we do not have here, but we're doing soffit panels in the gold as well. So we know that they wanted mostly gray, and we've put more. We know that Scottsdale prefers variety in the colors and the materials, so we kind of put in as much gold as we felt we could get away with the client. And should we pull up the 3D again, just so we can see where all the colors are?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because I'm confident that they're different, and because of the orientation, this is kind of washed out, and maybe once we get the samples here. But this soffit panel is the blue or gray, and it's actually darker than what this appears. We were kind of asked to lighten that up a little bit. But it is like a zinc, bluish zinc color. And then the wall panels it has kind of a gold fleck in it.
Is the soffit on under the deck level and at the perimeter on the northwest face? Is that also the gray?
No,
soffit
so the
panel?
gold is located here. This is the stucco.
Yep.
And then this deck underside is also gold.
Is it a gold? So it's a stucco?
Yes.
A gold stucco on the
Gold
underside.
stucco.
Okay.
And then the door is going to be the pearl gold.
Okay. Even if they print, it's still a rendering. It's just how a rendering prints. It's kind of tough to read. I think just in general, I don't think that you need to overhaul the palette of the building. I think that just when you have accent areas, I think maybe just the tone of the differentiation between the two grays.
Mm-hmm.
Since we don't have the samples here, I would just ask that you meet with staff to make sure that there's ample amount of
Variety there.
delineation between the 2 materials. I think it's a really nice design. I think it's a building that's appropriate from a formal design aesthetic. It's appropriate for the air park. I think I'm happy to hear that the granite is at the base for protecting
Yeah, and you can
the
kind of
base of the
see,
building.
here's that band that runs around.
My concern, though, is just, and sometimes in some of these buildings, we see the soffit as maybe a wood-toned, more of a wood-toned soffit panel or something like that, that gives a little bit more warmth to offset the gray that's there. But I would love if you could, and this wouldn't be something that's not approving, but maybe approving with the stipulation to work with staff on the appropriate secondary gray material.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, and our material boards are on their way, so they'll be here in about 5 minutes if we want to come back to it if we can.
Board Member Gonzalez?
Thank you very much. The glazing, there's quite a bit of glazing right there. It looks like almost 2-story worth of glazing on the top there. From my viewpoint, that's what it looks like, the glazing of the windows. Is it about, how tall is that about? Is it about 12 feet?
So each band is 2 feet, 2 feet.
Okay, I'm sorry. Then that glazing there, what is the, is it like a high E-value glass that's going on there? Is it like a sandwich, or is it like a?
Yeah, it's 2 layers of laminated
Laminated
glass
tempered?
with low E.
Right. Okay, and then the reflection of the glazing itself, is it because of the angle of the way that it looks from here on the, it looks like it's canted downward? Is there any reflective value that bounces back onto the street, do you think? Or is it, that was one of my concerns, is just what kind of reflective value, because that does reflect down onto that street, Airport Drive, I believe.
Right, there is a parking lot in front of the building, so it's removed back from Airport Drive quite a bit. We have not yet studied
Okay.
the reflection off of that,
Okay.
although it is sloped, about
Okay, that's fine.
15 degrees.
Then the other question I have, if you can answer that, if not, I can ask the staff person, Mr. Murillo, is that the parking lot that you have shown on your rendering or the plan itself, it wasn't really determined how many parking spaces there were on that particular piece of property that you have next door to the building itself. Do you know what the count is on that?
Yeah, they have a significant amount of parking because they sometimes use it for rental car parking as well. So, I've counted up to more than 20. Oh, go.
Vice Mayor DeBasquez and Commissioner Gonzalez, I do have a graphic. So, as part of the site, the area that you see delineated in the yellow, that's only a lease area. The airport owns the entire site itself, and so as such, right now, and you can just see the project right off the corner here. But this project that you see here, that's required to have 14 spaces total for the uses that exist here, and therefore the airport controls this entire site here, and they reviewed the plans and approved both the 5 remote parking spaces and the design itself. And so through their analysis, they have found that they have ample parking next door.
So they're not going to necessarily need any the Scottsdale public parking in that area?
That is correct. This site here is required to have 65 spaces, and 5 of those spaces will be remote at this location.
Very good. Thank you, sir. That's all my questions. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
With that, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion, and just formally just tell the applicant, I'll make a motion to continue dialogue and work with staff on to ensure the appropriate amount of contrast between the tones of gray and the soffit conditions on the building. So I'm assuming that will be, does that seem like something that the applicant can work with staff on? Great. With that, I'm going to move to approve case 11 DR 2024, per the staff recommended stipulations, with the additional stipulation of the applicant working with staff to resolve the appropriate distinction between tones of gray on the accent colors of the building, after finding that the development application meets the applicable Development Review Board criteria.
Second.
Vice Mayor Duboscus,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brand,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Board Member Peaser,
Yes.
Board Member Faki,
Yes.
Board Member Mason,
Yes.
Board Member Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item number 5, 25 DR 2024. Vice Chair Brand, did you have specific questions that you wanted to ask, or would you like a staff presentation?
Same questions. Just if you have the building material elevations and perspective up would be great.
Of course. Vice Mayor Duboscus, Commissioner Gonzalez, and board members, my name is Chris Zimmer. I'm a senior planner here with the City of Scottsdale, here to just give you a brief introduction to the 25 DR 2024, the proposed office and ancillary building. Again, via Dave Ventura and Hayden Road. You can see the site kind of subject right there. A little close up, this is actually on San Alberto in the office complex. And I'll pull up the elevations so you see them. Just to note, there was a slight update in the elevations from what you saw in the report. Really, the biggest change was the awning in front has just gone to be a little bit more surrounding of the building. The applicant is here. They do have their material board, so I will ask the applicant to come up and answer any questions that you do have. Thank you.
Are there revised perspectives for that? Yeah.
I don't have the revised perspectives, unfortunately, but if you just hand up this. Cool.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor Duboscus, Commissioner Gonzalez, Randy Hazlett, RKA Architects, for the San Alberto project for Eagle Investments in Annapolis.
Okay, my two questions were going to be regarding the canopy that has been removed. So I no longer have a question about the canopy that was out in front. The other one is the Nichiha material that you're using. What's the size and application of the board that you're planning on using on
I
that?
believe they come in 4x8 panels, or also I think what we're going to be using is like the 2x4 panel, so it kind of looks like a formed tilt panel concrete wall.
Right, and so I know Nichiha has a variety. So you're using a 2-foot by 4-foot.
Yes.
This is a concrete.
Yeah, if you look closely at the drawing, you'll see the little circles. The little circles are kind of the indents, and those circles are going to be one piece of panel.
Okay, so those are
Multiple.
those are each individual panels.
That's correct. So
those are not like those aren't like
wall.
a scored singular panel.
They will have some scores in them. There'll be some joints and kind of like a half-inch reveal that Nichiha gives you to connect those two.
Right, but within each board, are there faux joints within each board, or are the joints only between the boards?
There are joints only between the boards.
Okay.
It's meant to look like a solid mass, like a big concrete block.
And is the use of the building, is this an office use of the building?
It'll be office use and ancillary. Actually, Eagle Investments has an office right in that same neighborhood there, and they're kind of overflowing. So this will be ancillary to that.
Is there, with regard to the base of the building and the eaves area, is that an upgraded eaves or stucco condition?
It'll be a smooth sand finish, very modern look, you know.
Okay.
a lot
Is
of-
there sidewalk directly adjacent to that, or is it adjacent to landscape only?
So we had some struggles with this site, Jeff, and being the fact that this is a corner lot and triangle, we had quite a lot of difficulty with both adhering to the City of Scottsdale curb cut and getting the ADA kind of back behind, as well as parking. And you'll see on this, we've got a ingress and egress easement with our neighbor that actually sold us the land that we're having to use just to kind of get around the building. So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of area up against the building to do landscaping. It's a very tight spot. That's probably why it's one of the last remaining vacant parcels on this area.
Can you go back to, is there a site plan that's on this?
There's our landscape plan. How about
Okay.
that? There?
Yeah, the reason why I ask, I would normally want to ask about the durability of the stucco finish, or the eaves or stucco finish coming down to grade directly adjacent to sidewalk, and request some sort of alternative material, or else a reinforced or a different type of stucco down there, because it can get beat up if you're directly adjacent to pedestrian traffic. I don't know have you guys talked about that, or?
I think actually it'd be worse if you had landscaping and you had dirt kind of kicking back up on the building, where we have sidewalk, which would be sloping the water off. We also have a canopy that you'll notice on the front of the building that wraps all the way around to the front. So that's going to keep a lot of the water and moisture off.
So I wouldn't be worried about the weathering of it. I would be worried about the like foot traffic and kicking, or
Yeah, being it's an office and kind of a smaller building, I really don't think that would be an issue.
What's the use of the office that's being proposed, though? Is this?
They are an investment company, kind of real estate company.
Okay.
Yeah, so. You can see by the amount of parking spaces we have, 11 spaces. I doubt we'll even use that, to be honest with you.
Okay. Would you have any?
Sorry to cut you off, just so this is really not much of a public use building, as more of a private use.
Would there be any objection from the applicant to use a higher reinforcement on the base condition of the stucco for the first, up to the window glazing? Same material, but with a
Well,
thicker
we are
mesh.
wood framed, so you have any suggestions, sir?
I'm sorry?
We're a wood framed building. Since it's so small, we're going to do a wood frame system, wood trusses, wood studs.
Okay.
So your harder durability product, would you think in a veneer or something? Or
No, I'm talking about, are you using EIFS or stucco?
we can use whichever one will get us to the board, sir.
No, I'm just, what you're planning on right now, or?
Right now, 3-coat stucco.
Okay.
3-coat, very smooth sand finish, modern stucco.
Okay. Is there an ability to upgrade the mesh to make it a slightly more durable? As I know that's
Sure.
you can use the same material. I'm just asking that you have an upgraded mesh condition on the
Sure,
base.
we can do that.
Okay. Usually for projects that have EIFS or a stucco product coming down to grade directly adjacent to a sidewalk, just from a building quality standpoint, I've asked that question a bunch, just if you don't have a stone or a tile base or something like that, to have an upgraded reinforcement.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I want to know. If anybody else has questions, they can go, but that's all I had.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes. Thank you. Just basically, why did you remove you made the modification? Why was that modification moved? When you delayed it, you missed out on the canopy area that you were talking about? Is that what your change was talking about?
Well, I think one of the reasons that we modified the canopy is due to the fact of the trash compactor.
Can you speak in the microphone a little bit better? Thank you.
Sorry. One of the reasons that we modified the front canopy is because of the trash enclosure. And we had it off to the right, and the city of Scottsdale came back and said that we couldn't have it right up against the property line like that, so we really had to put it in front of the building. We also have a recessed trash enclosure, so it's half in, half out of the ground to kind of minimize it because it's the front of our building. Again, this is a triangle lot. Our frontage is on the triangle, the most skinny part of our property lines there. So that canopy that we did have in the original design didn't seem to function as well, so we had to minimize it.
Was there any, right here, it's kind of hard to say off the rendering, but do you know, what was the dimensions of that canopy? You're talking about them in the front doorway?
The front door canopy stayed the same.
Okay. What is the dimension of that front door canopy, out of curiosity? If you could remember what that size was?
The front door canopy projects off the building 4 foot.
Okay.
The canopy that goes around the building is 3'8".
So, okay, so you made that, So you offset that about 2 feet coming off there. Do you think that's enough of a canopy at the front door to kind of provide a shading atmosphere to that entranceway?
I do, and as you noticed, the front doors are also recessed, so it projects out the 4 feet, but then you have a recess of another, 2 feet there, so.
Okay,
you're
yeah,
about 6
that was the hard part. I was having trouble with the rendering, seeing where the offset was on the inside. Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Okay, I'll propose to, I'll make a motion to approve 25-DR-2024 per the staff recommended stipulations, with adding the stipulation that the applicant works with staff to add a higher reinforcement stucco material for the bottom 24 inches of the sidewalk adjacent facade on property, after finding that this has met the remainder of the development review board criteria.
Second.
Vice Mayor Dubaskis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brand,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Board Member Peaser,
Yes.
Board Member Faki,
Yes.
Board Member Mason,
Yes.
Board Member Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to consent agenda, or regular agenda item number 6, which is 36DR 2024. And I'll ask Vice Chair Brandt, did you have specific questions, or would you like to see the staff presentation?
I have the exact same question.
All right.
I'm full of questions today, but only one question.
This is good.
This one's a little better.
My name is Jim Larson. I've had the interesting benefit of having two items on the same agenda for the first time in my entire career. So I'll be able to answer questions for this.
Well, since you were here for the last, I'll repeat the same question, but I do have the same, and especially since the two items were on the same agenda, a very similar building use, a hangar space, and both had a really predominantly gray palette. Just ask, now I will, with the caveat, I know that this is an exposed tilt building, right? So you've got multiple paint colors on a tilt, predominantly tilt building, correct?
The hangar is a tilt building. The office building basically is steel frame and steel studs.
Okay, so the portion that we're looking at right now, the right-hand portion of that image, which is also over here, if you don't have to, if you can see that straight ahead.
You're looking at the steel studs and a GFRC rain screen.
So the GFRC rain screen is the portion to the right of the glazed entry there, is that correct?
From the vertical all the way around the corner.
Okay, so the vertical is what separates the tilt from the GFRC?
It's where we have the tilt concrete panel meet the framing.
Okay, so those two vertical elements are where the tilt stops and the framing starts?
The second one is an opening in the tilt panel, because we're actually putting light in the hangar with some vertical strip windows on the side of those verticals.
Okay. Is there, can you just talk a little bit about the design, the same question that we had last time about providing the right, is this based off of the tone of a corporate palette as well, or is the gray just a strategy to kind of do what is appropriate within the air park, or what was the palette strategy here?
This originally, this building was nearly black and white. It was approved by DR 4 or 5 years ago, permitted, went all the way to final plan check and approval, and stopped. So the property and the drawings were picked up by a new developer. They threw out the black and white because of evidently some personal responses to it. So the GFRC is tan and gray, and some other, and a darker, literally a darker gray-brown band. The rendering doesn't do the material justice, and unfortunately, I can't retrieve the color boards because they're in Wyoming with the client.
Okay, so what's represented here is maybe not, did you say that the tones of are a little bit warmer, more like a clay?
Much warmer.
Much warmer than what's represented here? Okay. Would there be any objection to having a non-gray soffit material, maybe something that was a little bit more of a faux wood tone or something like that from the same?
The soffit over the porch? Or
Yeah, the portion over the porch in the entry, or something that was a break from gray?
No objections at all. We can do anything there.
Okay.
Actually, we didn't deal with the soffits underneath the two major overhangs with the client in any detail. The angled facade was quite a bit of discussion, and that became gray.
Okay.
Warm brown gray.
Okay, I'm going to make the same motion for approval. This is annoying probably for staff, but I'm going to do it anyway. Finding that there's not any other questions from the board, but thank you for your time.
Okay.
Do
Thank
we
you
have
very
any
much.
other questions for the applicant? No other questions?
Great. I'll make a motion to approve case 36-DR-2024 per the staff recommended stipulations, with the additional stipulation for the applicant to work with staff to make sure that the correct gray tone distinction is applied to the building, and the possible addition of a wood-toned soffit to complement the gray on the building, finding that the project met all other Development Review Board criteria.
Second.
Vice Mayor DeBascus,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brand,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Board Member Peaser,
Yes.
Board Member Fakih,
Yes.
Board Member Mason,
Yes.
Board Member Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
All right, we will move on to regular agenda item number 7, 37DR 2024, and we're ready for our presentation.
Thank you, Vice Mayor DeBascus, Commissioner Gonzalez, and board members. Greg Bloomberg with Current Planning, Principal Planner, here to give you a presentation for 4242 North Scottsdale Road. Site is located just south of Fifth Avenue. You have the Gilbert Ortega building between Fifth Avenue and this site, Scottsdale Road to the east, and Local Patron Restaurant to the south, and a city parking garage southwest of the site. So just a little background and a summary of the request. This is a repurpose and remodel of existing buildings for a new restaurant. At the 5/15/25 hearing, the applicant requested a continuance to allow time to respond to some concerns raised by the neighbor to the south, and staff received quite a few emails, which are included in your report. And the main concern expressed by the owner of the establishment to the south and the patrons and employees of that establishment was the massing of the patio enclosure. So the applicant met with that property owner, and the solution that was agreed upon was a recess at the southeast corner of the patio that basically creates a notch that allows for the people, the patrons on the patio, for the local patron to not feel like they're so close to that wall. There'll still be some visibility to the north. From a site plan perspective, again, there's two existing buildings. There's a building on the north side and a building on the west side. There is a small addition proposed for that west building. The rest of this area here is all patio space. There is one physical parking space back here, and there is a series of bike park racks here along Scottsdale Road, which will be a nice amenity for folks that are wanting to visit the establishment on their bikes. I'll go on to the landscape plan. And the thing I want to focus on here, again, there's some landscaping in the patio area, but the massive improvement to the pedestrian realm as part of this project. We'll get an 8-foot sidewalk detached from the street, and some live oaks in that landscape area, as well as some shrubbery. So that pedestrian experience is going to be improved substantially. So look at the elevations. Colors and materials are generally consistent with our sensitive design principles, warm, earthen colors. The main concern that staff initially had with this particular proposal was the size of that patio barrier. Normally we see something more along the lines of 3 or 4 feet in height, and what we're hoping for with these external patios is some interaction between pedestrians on the street and the patrons on the patio. That's what the Old Town Design Guidelines strive for. And so we expressed that to the applicant. And initially, the breeze block that you see right here was a lot denser. There wasn't much opportunity for people to look in or vice versa. So there's now a much more open breeze block proposed as part of that faux facade, I'll call it. So there is that ability to see in, see what's going on, and then for the folks on the patio to see what the people that are passing on the street. So in general, we feel it's consistent with the guidelines. And these are the zero lot line, basically elevations that show. This shows you the improvements over here. This is the color and materials board. You can see that breeze block up at the upper right, and these materials and colors, as I mentioned, are consistent with the guidelines. This is a perspective from Scottsdale Road looking southwest. And then this is a perspective that had to be modified last minute because it now shows, you can see the patio for Local Patron right here, and you can see how close the patio enclosure for this project was to that patio. With that recess here, that massing and that claustrophobic, perhaps, feeling has been alleviated, and then the property owner to the south is now satisfied with the design. That concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the applicant team is also here to answer questions.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Thank you. Mr. Bugenberg, this patio it complies with the addition of the occupancy. It complies with the parking, the private parking around it.
Vice Mayor DeBasquez and Commissioner Gonzalez, that's more of a zoning issue, but I will address it as much as I can. It does comply with the ordinance for the most part. Now, there was an overage of bike parking credits originally proposed, and the adjustment to those bike parking credits has resulted in a 1.6 space deficit for this project. However, that will be stipulated to be resolved prior to construction plan submittal. It's a minor situation that they can resolve. So, in other words, aside from that, it does meet all the parking requirements.
Do you, by any chance, recall what the occupancy would be on that patio?
I would defer to the architect to answer that.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Artie Vigil with AV3 Design. I'm the architect for the project, and the occupancy for the patio is assembly for restaurant use.
What is the, then do you, what was the fire marshal's occupancy rate on that?
So we haven't gone through the construction drawings, but it would meet all aspects of fire egress. We have multiple exits. I'm not sure if that's answered.
But you don't know how many tabletops or anything that you're going to be able to put on that patio?
So we haven't got that far as the count of table occupancies. We do have an occupancy that we will meet for all of our restrooms, all of the exits. The quantity of tables will be flexible ultimately once we get into the interior design.
Are you planning on having live music or anything on that patio?
We haven't had that discussion. I don't think so. I think it's mostly ambient music. This is a luxury restaurant, so the intention is that it's more of an ambient background music that will be lighter. It's not a loud restaurant.
Okay, and then one other question then. With the agreement that you have with the neighbor next to you, are you going to have, are you going to put it into a deed as far as the restriction, as far as what you're going to perform there, or how are you going to transfer the ability to establish what you're going to create there in adjoining the neighbor?
Well, there's two separate properties. So the property that we're remodeling, the patio courtyard, there will be no interference between the two properties whatsoever. So whatever they're playing in their music won't interfere with what we're doing in this property. So there's a solid wall, and the walls or nothing really crosses that property that would require such agreement.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any other questions? So my concern with this project is the parking. So can we talk a little bit about how we get there, and then what do we think the proposed solution is for the 1.6?
Vice Mayor DeBoscus and Commissioner Gonzalez and members of the Development Review Board were really getting outside of the purview of the Development Review Board by talking about parking. They were really getting into land use and planning at that point. So that's what I would say to that.
Does anybody have any questions?
I don't have questions, but I have comments. I did have a meeting with the applicant, just for the clarity of the board. I had a meeting with the applicant to talk about materials and design. When I first looked at the elevation, I thought it looked elegantly simple, but I was also worried that some of the details and the facade may not be good. However, after talking with the applicant and understanding the true material palette of the building, which is all of the details on the Scottsdale Road frontage are precast and actually hand-done precast concrete. The block is a very nice custom breeze block. Every storefront door in here is a steel window, which if anyone knows custom steel windows, they're beautiful. So I think I thank the applicant for the meeting. I really think this will be a great addition to the street front of Old Town, which has been I've walked this area many, many times, and it's kind of the spot where you just want to kind of get through that area to get to the next spot. And this will actually be a really enjoyable spot to walk by. So I really appreciate your time. The other thing that we talked about is really the signage for the project, and that's a deferred submittal. It's not part of the purview, but I think understanding how this building will be branded from a restaurant standpoint and the quality of the establishment, it makes me very comfortable that this will be a great addition and really a huge upgrade to the walkable streetscape of the Old Town area. So thank you very much both to the applicant and to the property owner for really improving the frontage on Scottsdale Road. That's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Vice Mayor DeBascus, if I would be able to join in real quickly. I believe there's one public comment on this item.
We have one written comment.
Well, one written, okay, thank you.
Do we need to read it? All right, do we have a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve 37 DR 2024. Move to approve the case per staff recommended stipulations after finding the development application meets the Development Review Board criteria. Additional findings for the development of the Old Town area.
Second.
Vice Mayor DeBoscus,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brand,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
No on that.
Board Member Peaser,
Yes.
Board Member Fakih,
Yes.
Board Member Mason,
Yes.
Board Member Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1. Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.